Hello everyone to my channel, and in this lecture, which is quite a big one but it is very involved, and I'll lead you step by step in the way to build an e-commerce application. So let's see what's on the agenda, or what is the learning outcome of this lecture. So the first one is the creating the ASP.NET Core 8 project, and then the second one is create a product model, install EF Core NuGet packages or Entity Framework Core NuGet packages, create the database context, register the product context, add database exception filter, use SQL Server Express Local DB, add images to display in the cart, initialize database with the test data, create controller and views, and finally running the web application. So there's a lot to learn in this lecture. It's a very involved. So I would suggest you to go through the end. Please be patient, and you'll be treated with some lovely article, some lovely discussion, and actually step-by-step guide from the scratch onwards to build the first part of a highly scalable application. So here we go. I'll show you how to create the new project, which will be an MVC template. So create a new project. So within the recent project template, let's search for the MVC template, model view and controller template, model view controller. All right. So I'm of course using C#, and then I'll click next. So I shall give it a name. E-commerce shopping cart ASP.NET 8, and the solution name will be the same, and place solution and project in the same directory. So I will uncheck this because that has been my practice, but there is no harm. I could think of that why you shouldn't check this, but I'll keep it unchecked because I don't want the solution and project in the same directory. Solution, in this case, the solution is just one level up from the project file. Okay, so let's click on next, and here you are, .NET 8 long-term support, and I have the choice of either going for the .NET 6, .NET 7 or .NET 8, but .NET 8 is the latest craze and latest release with more features than ever before, and the strongest one. So authentication type, at the moment I am not going for any authentication type, and I don't need enabling Docker, and I would like to use the top level statement and click create. You can see the project is already created for me, and on this right hand side pane you have got the solution explorer and the git changes. These are the two tabs, but I have highlighted the solution explorer, and I would like to show you these folder structure for this e-commerce shopping cart application with the model view controller, and this is the home controller, this is the default controller. It is pretty much the same as we used to have in the previous versions of ASP.NET Core. All right, so next we'll go for we'll create a product model. Now, just a small thing before going to create the product model, I would like to delete the home controller, but that will be because this is not going to be used anymore. So I'll just right click and click on delete. So it will be deleted permanently. That's fine with me. Now I will go to the views. I have expanded the views folder and home folder. So because I don't want to work with the home controller or home view, so I will now delete this home folder as well. So delete it. All right. So I will start afresh with a product model. Now let's create the product model within the models folder. By default, we have the models folder, and I will go with the error view model for the timing at least. Let's see, there's no harm in keeping it. Okay, this is the error view model. All right, so let's right click this and add class So product class. So I will in the product class. So let me write the code for the product class. So it's a few public properties. Now let's change the my property to actual meaningful property names. So public string ID get set, and this will be name. Again, the type will be string. So price will be another property, and the last property will be the photo. Sure. Photo. All right, so just save it. Here you can see on the mouse over there is a green squiggly line on ID, name and photo, not on price. So what are they? This is showing non-nullable property ID must contain a non-null value when exiting constructed. Consider declaring the property as nullable. So IDs can never be null. So I will not declare it as nullable. So either there are two potential fixes if you bother about this. I won't declare as nullable or make the property as required. Okay, public required string. So either you can do like this, public required string ID. Okay, so public required string ID. This is a new feature which is for the first time in .NET 8. It was not there earlier as far as I am aware. So you can just write public required string ID, and then you can write public required string name, show potential fixes. Again, you can see make property as required, preview changes, and then apply. And similarly for the price, potential fixes, make property required, and then preview changes and apply. All right, so now we don't have to bother about declaring it as nullable anymore. Next, we'll install the necessary Entity Framework Core NuGet packages. So this tutorial uses SQL Server, and the provider package for SQL Server is Microsoft.entityframeworkcore.SQL Server. So let's right click this project and manage NuGet packages. And it's already browsing for the ones. So on top of the list is Microsoft.entityframeworkcore.SQL Server. So this Microsoft SQL Server database provider for Entity Framework Core. Right, so install it. Latest stable version is 8.0. That's for ASP.NET 8. Okay, install it. So it's getting installed. Click on apply. Click on I accept the conditions. All right, so it's already installed. You can say installed once. So Microsoft.entityframeworkcore.SQL Server is already installed. All right, so I'll have to browse for another one, which is this one, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Diagnostic.EntityFrameworkCore. So this is the top one. I will tell you in a bit what is the reason for installing this NuGet package, which is Diagnostic.EntityFrameworkCore. So let's install it first. Apply. I accept. and this Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Diagnostics.Entity Framework Core NuGet package is actually used for providing the ASP.NET Core middleware for Entity Framework Core error pages. This middleware helps to detect and diagnose the errors with Entity Framework Core migration. So these two are the installed ones: Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Diagnostics.Entity Framework Core, and others are the one that we installed earlier, Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.SQL Server by Microsoft, and transitive packages. These are actually, I can install them. It is suggesting, but I will not install it right now. Okay, so that's also a new feature, I guess, but I'm not quite sure about what is this, the meaning of this transitive packages. Okay, so let's get going. So next we'll have to create the database context, and we'll close this one, NuGet package page. And the main class that coordinates entity framework functionality for a given data model is a DB context database, or the database context class. This class is created by deriving from Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.DB context class. Now the DB context derived class specifies which entities are included in the data model, and one can customize some entity framework behaviors. In this project, the name of the class is product context. Okay, so in the project folder, we'll create a data folder. Add new folder. So data folder, and we'll add a product context file. So add class we'll add a product context class to this under the same namespace, public class product context. Okay, so let me start coding. No copy and paste. So top level using statement, using this project e-commerce shopping cart ASP.NET 8 dot either data or models. So I'll use the models. I'll bring in the models class, product model, and then using Microsoft dot entity framework core. All right, so these are the two using statements, and then I've got this public class product context which needs to be filled with the suitable code. Now this product context class, as I've told you just a few moments back, that it derives from the DB context class. So it's a child of the DB context class. It derives from the DB context class. And let's write the constructor public product context, and here I will give the DB context options. I'll give the argument DB context, these options, DB context options, and here I will fill product context. Product context which we have just written, which we are going to write. Anyway, this is the product context class. So I am giving the dependency injection. I am entering, I am actually supplying the product context type. So this object, let me name it options, and it derives from the base class options. Okay. Next will be a public property of type DB set, which actually models the product table. Okay, so this will be type DB set, and within the T entity type it will be the DB set of product, and I will call this products. All right, and then lastly an on model creating method needs to be called. On model creating, I will shortly tell you about detailed explanation of what this on model creating method does. So it will override, protected override on model creating, model builder. Okay, so by default it has written this code, but we'll change that to customize this. So this will be model builder dot entity, which is, what is the entity? Only one entity, that is the product. To table this is product. So basically what it does is that it configures the table that the entity type maps to when targeting a relational table. Okay, so to table product, so whatever name I have entered, I have put it as an argument to the toTable function. So it creates a table in the database with the same name. So it will be a product table here. So you can see here. So model builder dot entity on product, it returns an object that can be used to configure a given entity type in the model. And toTable method, it configures the table that the entity type maps to when targeting a relational database. So again, this DB set, this is a property for product entity, and in entity framework terminology, an entity set typically corresponds to a database table, and an entity corresponds to a row in the table, where the entity is a row in the products table. Okay, and when we create the database, entity framework creates tables that have names the same as the DB set property names. Okay, the property names for collections are typically plural, for example products rather than product. For these tutorials we override that default behavior, so that's the main reason of writing this method on model creating. We will override the default behavior by specifying singular table name. So the product is a singular table name. If we haven't called this, if we haven't written this method, then it would have created a products table, but we are going to use a singular object as a best practice. We achieve this in the preceding code in the on model creating method by the use of toTable method. All right, and next is we are going to register the product context. So ASP.NET Core includes dependency injection. I'm sure you might have all heard about dependency injection. If not, dependency injection is something that will actually injects the dependency in a class constructor usually, and it mimics the actual object that is injected onto it. So we can register services such as entity framework database context with dependency injection during startup. We can provide these services to the components like MVC controllers that require them via constructor parameters. To register product context as a service, we now edit the program class program.cs so that it looks like the way I'm going to write. So this is the program class. So here I'll have to use these two using statements. Let's get going, start writing. So using again our project name, e-commerce shopping cart ASP.NET 8 dot. Now this time I'm going to include the data folder. Okay, and then using Microsoft dot entity framework core, like we did earlier with this product context. We use the same two using statements. If you put them side by side, you will see that they're the same. Okay, so this was the shell of a program class already written for me while I created the project. So I will change a few bit somewhere. Let me add services to the container. So builder.services.add controller with views, that is fine. And then we'll have to add builder.services add database context. And what is the database context here? Is the product context. So product context rather, product context, and then again I'll build an options object. It's a lambda expression over there. It will go where options dot use SQL Server. I will use this statement, use SQL Server or SQL Server, and then builder dot configuration dot get connection string. Okay, and then this connection string will be a default connection string which I am yet to write. Okay, so sorry, this is circular brackets, and so I'll write the connection string name as default connection. And then this will be closing over here. Let us see all the brackets. The closing of all the brackets are in place, right? And then semicolon, and then save. All right, now this default connection, let's tell you, this is app settings.json, app settings.json. So I'll have to write this default connection. Okay. So once again, in this snippet of code builder.services.add DB context, we have added a DB context. Okay, and the connection string, this is option is actually building a connection string which is known as default connection, which we are yet to write by calling the get connection string method of the configuration object. Okay, and so let's open the app settings.json file, which I have already opened, and add a connection string. Okay, so in the connection string, the connection string will be here, connection string on the top. So I will just start with a curly brace and then end with this curly brace over here, so that everything actually is syntactically correct. So open brace and close braces matching closed braces over here, and here I will write another JSON attribute or whatever it is called, connection strings, and then within this connection string I will write the connection string as within double quotes default connection. And what is this default connection? It automatically applies these double quotation or quote and end quote, and then the first element will be server this will be local DB, so local DB, and here this is // MSSQL local DB. Local DB. So server will be local DB / MSSQL local DB. This is the way it is written, and then the database will be so within this start bracket I'll have to put a semicolon and then database. I could give it any name, so let's give it a name which reflects the purpose of this database. E-commerce database, e-commerce database, or you can see e-commerce product DB to reflect what this is about, product DB, and then semicolon, and then another next member is trusted connection, trusted underscore. Trusted connection is true, and I think the true should be capital, although I believe it shouldn't matter, but way of writing is capital T with other letters being small, and multiple active results sets true. True. This comma will perhaps come here. Actually, this is local DB closes over here only, this circular brace. So it is, there is no end circular brace over here. Right, so it is within quotes and unquotes the entire default connection of the connection string, default connection of the connection string rather. Now below this line where you are adding the database context with the product context, we'll add the add database developer page exception filter to the services collection in the program class. Okay, so that is this line of code, builder dot, again call the services method dot add database developer page exception filter. So this database developer page exception filter, it is only to be used in development environment, and together with the development environment, it actually helps in resolving any database issues encountered in the entity framework, in the usage of entity framework core, by applying migration. And it gives us a user friendly exception page. So if you read over here, so it, in combination with the use developer exception page, this captures database related exceptions that can be resolved by using entity framework migration. So when exceptions occur, an HTML response with details about possible actions to resolve the issue is generated. All right. Now again, this connection string specifies a SQL Server local DB. So this local DB is a lightweight version of SQL Server Express database engine. We should use local DB for app development and not for production. Local DB starts on demand and runs in user mode, so there is no complex configuration use. So by default, local DB creates MDF database files in C users and username directory. So next we'll put the required images. So accordingly, I will create under the www root an images folder. So add new folder, give it the name images, and within this images folder I will paste the images. Now where did I get the images from? Now I have got a GitHub source code for the entire project that I am going to describe in this part 1 and part 2 of the YouTube video already as a blog on my website, and the source code is here, krchome/e-commerce product cart ASP product cart app ASP.NET 7. So it was written in ASP.NET 7, which I am now transferring to ASP.NET 8, that is the latest version. So the source code is already available in the ASP.NET 7 version. So I have cloned the code from my existing code base, and I have cloned it here, GitHub clone. So this is my YouTube channel where I'm actually dropping everything from. So here you can see this is the part 1. So here in the part 1 folder, I have got this www root, and I've got this images. So I have actually copied all these images. So these are the flowers. So this e-commerce site will be about selling flowers. Okay. So what I have done is I have copied all these flowers. Okay. And then I will paste it in the this project folder, project www root. So let's go back to where it was here. So I'll paste it here because that's where I am working this project from. So all these flowers are available here. So when I now open up, expand my images folder on the project www root, so all these flowers are already here. Okay, because I have pasted it on the internet and the file explorer directly after cloning it from my GitHub, as I just explained. So what is next? So next we'll initialize the database with the test data. Now entity framework creates an empty database, which we don't have so far, but we'll soon create it, and it does it automatically with the ensure created method in this tutorial or in this lecture or in this video. To see how, let's create a new class name, DB initializer class, with the code that I'm going to write. So within the data folder, which already have this product context class, I have to add another class, which is DB initializer. So DB initializer, let's see the if there is any typo or not. So this is all hunky-dory. So DB initializer add. So click on add and public class DB initializer. So let's see what is there in the DB initializer class. So we have to use the using statements. using the project e-commerce shopping cart ASP.NET 8. So there is actually a typing error. That is when I created the project, it should have been double P. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter here anymore. And then I will call the models folder here. So this, and then using system link query for a link querying system.link, and that's all. So let's write the class DB initializer. So guys, I have to make this public class as public static class, with the reason that it needs to be called without declaring an instance of this class. So static class gives us that privilege of without initialization you can call this static class. So public static class DB initializer, which will be clear as we move forward in our way. So now I'll have to write a public static. Within the static class, we'll have the static void method. It returns void initialize method. Okay, initialize with the product context object. So product context, and I'll call this as context simply. And this is the initialize method that will be called, as I will show you later, to initialize the database with some seed data. Okay, so in this context, context dot database dot ensure created. Now this is magic actually, ensure created. So what this does, if you just simply click mouse over on this, it says that it ensures that the database for the context exists. So if the database exists and has any tables, then no action is taken. Nothing is done to ensure the database schema is compatible with the entity framework model. However, if the database doesn't exist, let's read this line, then the database is created and the entity framework model is used to create the database schema. Okay, and if on the other hand, if the database do exist but doesn't have any tables, then the entity framework model is used to create the database schema. Okay, so three conditions we have seen. So in this case, there is the database also doesn't exist, so there is no question of the product table already existing, so it will ensure that the database with the product table is created. Now it will look for any product. Let's write the next line as if context.products, and I will call the any method. Why? So it determines whether a sequence contains any elements. This any method, it returns true if the source contains any elements, otherwise false. So if there is any product, so it will return. What does it do? It returns the database has been seeded already. Return. Else, either it will anyway fall to this branch. So I will create a product array of new product. Now for this array of new product, this will contain all the flowers. So 10 of them, and with their name and them as a string. Okay, with all the other parameters like ID, photo, and price. So let me quickly paste it from my clipboard because it would save me a lot of time. So let me start writing by creating a variable of products. Variable products. New product array. Yeah, okay. So array is how? Square bracket. Okay, and then how do I initialize this? Is with a new product. Okay, and then I have to keep on writing the product. I'll fill the properties of the product class. So here I will take help of my clipboard and let's paste the code. And just overwrite here. All right, and then semicolon here to end the method. So basically, if I've said 10, it is not 10. There are 9 products. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 IDs are there. All right, and then this is ending over here, and this is the closing public static void, and then there is a for each loop over here after this. So for each tab var item in collection. So what is the item? So for each var p, either you can write var p or you can write the actual product type product p in products, because this is products, right? Products is a array of product. So for each var p in products, so context dot products dot call the add method, context dot products dot add the p object p, yes, and loop it in the for each loop. So for each product p in products array, context dot products dot add to the products array, I add this p object p. Okay, so that is the end of this for each loop, and all these closing brackets for the method and the public static class and the namespace. So it ends over here. There's one step still, which is context, because it is a database. So context, in this context has to be saved, for the database to be the new objects to be saved in the database. Context dot save changes, so it will save the changes to the database. Next, we'll have to update the program class. So we already have program class written up to this. So here we'll have to add some scope. Okay, so here builder.services.add controller with views, and then we have added MVC, and so you have to add the DB context. Add the DB context also we have added var app builder.build. Okay, and then I'll have to add the next part is using statement. So below this part I will just paste this code using var scope equals app.services.create scope. What does it do? It creates a new iService scope that can be used to resolve scoped service. Okay, and then it creates a services object, and this the scope.service provider, the iService provider used to resolve dependencies from the scope, and it tries on this context services.get required service product context, and then it initializes the database initializer DB initializer class and calling the initialize method, where this is a static method, so it doesn't need to be initialized. So DB initializer.initialize and passes the context object, and if there is an exception, it logs the exception by creating a logger object, and then it uses the get required service again with the ilogger on the program class, and exception is written as an error occurred creating the DB. So is it clear? So again, let's inspect this in more closely. Let's just do the postmortem of this part only from line 11 to line 23 or 24. So app dot services dot create scope, it creates a new scope for the dependency injection. I have already told you in a brief about what is a dependency injection, but I think most of you should be knowing it who are not coming to the .NET for the first time. And okay, so var services equals scope dot service provider. So it retrieves the service provided from the service provider from the created scope. And this try block, it var context equals this part. It retrieves the product context service from the service product. From the service provider, and then it calls the method initialize method in the DB initializer class to initialize the database, and then it catches the exception if there is an exception. In summary, this code is setting up a scope, initializing the database using a DB initializer, and logging any errors that might occur. It's a common pattern in ASP.NET Core application for database initialization. Now, before moving on to create the controller and the views and running the application at the last, I will do a small amendment. Now, I have in this app settings and the connection string, I have made the default connection sometimes back in this lecture itself as e-commerce product DB. Now, e-commerce product DB is already existing. You can see here because I have created the as I just said a while back that I have created the product cart with ASP.NET 7 for my blog website. So e-commerce product DB is already existing. So I need to create another one. So let us just to show you that this database was not there and it will be created with ensure created method and the DB initializer class. So I'll name this e-commerce flower. Let's make it flower. So save it and let's run this project and see what happens. So click on this. It will build, compile, build and run this application. And if everything is all right, it should create the database also, e-commerce flower DB. So fail to load configuration file. Okay, exception originally, and let's see what is the error. I'll come back after solving this issue and then tell you the reason. How did I solve it? What was the origin of this error and how did I sort it out? So let's see, it says that JSON reader exceptions. Let's open app settings.json file. It says this curly brace is an invalid start of a property name expected. There's something to do with this connection string itself. There is some error. So let's stop it for a minute, our video, and I'll come back. I think I have got it. This is an extra bracket that I have somehow put, inadvertently typo. So let's save it again, and this is closed by this one. This is closed by this one, and this is. I think that's also not used, so we'll get rid of this one also and then save it and then let me run it. This is hot reload and continue. It is now giving me local host page cannot be found. All right, that's fine because I don't have any home page and any home views. Okay, index view. So that's fine. And let's see if the database is created or not. Yes, you can see the entity framework core has created e-commerce flower DB. So if I just highlight it, it magnified this part a little bit. Let's see if I can magnify this e-commerce flower DB. Anyway, I can't magnify this really, but if I go for the tables, so you can see the DBO product table is there, and if I show you the data It's all the data, ID, name, price, photo is there. So our ensure created is successful, and next we'll go for building the controller and the views. You can see that I have now closed all the tabs, open tabs, just to make it clear, so clutter free. Now we'll go for creating a controller. So accordingly, we use the controllers folder and click on add and add controller, and we'll go for MVC controller with views using entity framework. Okay, and click on add. So in this scaffolding that we have got in this wizard, add MVC controller with views using entity framework. So model class required, I have only the product model class. So product and DB context class, product context, and database provider configured from the selected DB context, generate views, reference script libraries, use a layout page. Okay, product controller name is product controller. Okay, so we'll keep everything as the same on default and click on add. So it is doing a scaffolding, it's installing NuGet packages, and everything is in front of you. So we'll come back after it has done scaffolding the controller. Now this is the products controller which has been scaffolded, and it is deriving from the base controller class. Now we see that the products controller, this is the constructor, it injects a product context as a dependency injection, and we have configured this product context in the program class here, if you like to revisit that. So that is the product context we have already added to the services collection. All right, and then this thing to see here is that the Visual Studio scaffolding engine, it has also created a set of views or CSHTML files, products create.cshtml. Okay, and again, I'm not sure how to magnify this side of the screen in a Solution Explorer, but I hope that you are still able to view it. All right, so create.cshtml, delete, details, edit, and index. So, but here in our purpose, it is just an e-commerce application and not a full-blown CRUD application. So we'll get rid of all other action methods. These are all action methods: index, details, and create, etc., etc. And we'll get away with only the index method. So we'll clean up the other action methods. So let me delete all other stuff that I are not going to use here. Scroll it till the end. Delete it. Okay, and let's see, all the brackets are terminated at the right place. Now here in this index action method, which returns a task of iAction result type, I will slightly change this return type. Okay, so let's change it a little bit. So I'll take underscore context, which is dependency injected. So underscore context dot products. I'll explain everything after I've completed this statement. Context dot products not equals null. If it is not null, then view to list async if it is not null, and if it is null, then something interesting. And what is that interesting thing, which I'm going to just explain? Then it is there is a problem. I'll tell you what is this problem thingy. Entity set. Now this part is, I think, clear. If it is not null, then it will give you a view, because this is asynchronous operation, async method, so it has to be awaited. So it will list the product asynchronously. But this part really, it needs some explanation. So this, if context.products is null, it returns a problem view. So it is a problem view with the specified error message indicating that the entity set is null. This is a conditional expression that provides a concise way of handling two different outcomes based on the state of context.products. I hope you know it now. Now, at the moment, our project is more or less ready to be shown, minus a few things, cosmetic changes that I need to do. But before that, I need to, actually, we have already created the index.cshtml, that is the product view. When we scaffolded the product controller previously, so with that controller, we already have the this view, index view, like all the other views: create, delete, details, edit. However, as I said before, that we have taken out all the other action method for create, edit, delete, etc., because that's are not required. They are unnecessary for our present context of creating an e-commerce cart. So I have already deleted those action methods. So why not delete these other with just keeping the index CSHTML in place? Let us delete all the other views, which are unnecessary. So I'll right click and then delete. Okay, without any harm to the application. Now only the index method is there, and our index view is there, and index action method is there. All right, so it's ready to be shown, run at the moment, minus a small change, and that I will make obvious when I run this application. So this is the index.cshtml for the product view, and let's run this application once more. For the first time. When I say for the first time, means first time after completing it. Well, more or less I can say. So products. Okay, now if I click on products, you can see it is already showing me the products page. However, you'd expect here to show the actual photos of all of these flowers like aconitum, African daisy, begonia, chrysanthemum, and so on and so forth, rather than only the string, only there the file names. So these are the file names, but how do I replace it with the actual photographs? And also I don't need to create a new one, and these are also unnecessary. So there are some cosmetic changes that we'll do, and I will keep it running. I don't need to close this browser. We'll just refresh it. Okay, I will show you how. So I will actually change the bits that need to be changed here while the application is still running. Okay, so first part is all right. At model is all right. IEnumerable of e-commerce shopping cart ASP.NET8.models.product, and view data title is index. Okay, and here I would like to put another head tag, head and end head tag after this. Maybe this is not necessary. Okay, so meta name viewport content width equals device width. So it will automatically adjust the width to the width of the content to the device. So if it is laptop or desktop, it will give you full view, whatever the pixel is required for the laptop or the desktop. It will show in that width, and it will adjust it accordingly if you view it in the mobile device or an iPad or medium size device. Okay, automatically it will adjust the content for this width, okay, device width, according to the device width. All right, and then I don't need this paragraph for creating new, and then this table is all right. So first few within the T head, table head, I've got this T row, one row which has got a few table headings, and they will show the display name for model.name, display name for name, price, and photo. Okay, and in this for each loop, for each var item in model, rather than, I mean, item is also all right, but you know, it will sound better if you write it product. So for each var product, because after all it is product in the model. So this will be TD, this within that one row, these are the different cells. There are so many cells for these items. So I would now change it so that it is, you could write it like, you know, product, because I've changed the item to product. So product.name, and then I would like the item price to be, you know, up to 2 places of, displayed up to 2 places of decimal. So within this TD, what I would like to do, either I could change it like here itself. So HTML dot display for model item goes to item dot price, rather than item dot price, it is product dot price. But I would like to round it to 2 places of decimal. So how can I do it? I will use the I will use math.round method over here. Okay, product.price. So this will be, let's try math.round. So math.round. Okay, so it will round up the product price to 2 places of decimal by entering digit to 2. Okay, so this is the value, double value, and in digits. So digit number of fractional digits in the return value. So if you make it 3, it will show 3 places of decimal, or 4, and so on and so forth. So 4 places of decimal or 3 places of decimals, it's up to you. You can easily control it. So model item goes to math.round product.price and comma 2, end of the cell or TD, table data, and HTML.display for model item item.photo. Here I will make some more changes. It is not product.photo, it will be actually if I make it product.photo, what do you expect? It will still remain the same, right? So I'll have to change it suitably so that there is images are loaded properly. So here I will use image tag. Okay, so I will have to change this TD. I will delete this, remove this. Instead I will write image source attribute, and what is the source? Within the source attribute I have to put the path. Okay, so I will browse it there. Yeah, tilde front slash images slash front slash. So tilde front slash images front slash. So I could load any of these photographs, but I would like to get it from the product value directly at product dot photo. Okay, so the photo item of photo property of the product, which is this one. So I will directly load this image from that source, which will change as per the item in view. Okay, now, and give it a hard hard-coded width of just 60 pixel. Okay, and then close this. Close this and then close this TD. That's it. There is a few things still remaining. I'll get rid of this. That will delete all those edit details delete button, and then Control S to save it, and then hot reload. Probably it is not needed, because if I disable hot reload, stop debugging. Your changes can be applied due to an unexpected error. Okay, don't need it. Let's see where is my browser that we got it. It's here, and let me refresh it, and nothing happens. So let us close this browser and rerun this application. So when I browse to products, it has come up with this error. An unhandled exception occurred while processing the request. So at this line, that is the culprit. So let's change this line at html.display4, where I put the math.round function. So it is saying templates can only be used with field access, property access, single dimension array index, or single parameter custom indexer expression. So whatever this means, let's not go deep into this, but I will change that line of code, because that is the culprit over here. So I will change it. Now I have changed it with this code, and let's again run our application. So this time when I browse to products, you can see that everything is hunky-dory, everything is voila, fine. So the name, price, and photo of are there. Now just one more thing is left, which I will put, because I will have to add to cart button will have to be I intended to give it in this lecture itself, which will be used in the next part 2. So let's say simple code. So that is this part, button class add to cart, data product ID at product.id add to cart. Okay, this is important, data product ID, but that we can leave definite for the discussion in the next lecture. And then let's run this application. Just where it is. So this is nothing happening. I just clicked on hot reload button, and it has actually on the runtime itself, it has added, made the changes. Nothing will happen because that button is not functional. It has to be left for the part 2. Okay, so this is our product view, and thanks for watching it. If you view this, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and leave your valuable comments. Thank you.